it counts the number of times each category occurs in that particular column and plots it for you. So it only takes in one argument, the count plot. That's the difference between the count plot and the bar chart. So I'm going to share my screen now. What's my screen?
Yes, can see it.
Nice. So in Power BI, don't change. This is our interface for the Power BI. Over the weeks, we've been doing introduction to Power BI. We did data cleaning, where we worked with Power Query, and we did modeling. So we did tax. So today we'll be talking about visualization best practice, and we'll be creating simple dashboard designs. So I've talked about the bar chart. You can have bar chart in two formats: the stacked bar chart and the stacked column chart. They're basically the same thing. So this one, it's displayed horizontally, while the other one is displayed vertically. Let me just use a data set. So we'll be okay, close and apply. So I'm waiting for the data to load. This is the data set we used last week. So I'm just going to use it to demo a lot of charts. Okay. We have data now. So let's say I want to plot for each country the sales for each country. Okay. So you notice that when I'm clicking each arrow, it's automatically directing it to where it ought to be. So the country is in my y-axis, which is here, and the sum of sales is in my x-axis. What happens if I switch this? I bring sales in country in my x-axis, and I bring sales in my y-axis. So basically your x-axis for here, when you're using this stacked bar chart, your category is supposed to be in your x-axis. So now I switched it, I took my category to my y-axis, and the chart is looking noisy. So most times when you click on each chart, Power BI automatically detects where it ought to be and places it there. So if it places it where you don't want it to be, you can always change it. So now this is my sales, which ought to be in my x-axis because I'm working with the stack charts. And this country, I drag it to the y-axis. Now I have sum of sales by country. The moment I click on the column chart, automatically it changes it for me. It's the same chart, it's just displaying it vertically or horizontally. Now, when you're talking about clustered bar chart, you have two categories that you want to display. So let's say, what's in segments? I'm not sure. Okay. Let's say we want to do something about this discount band. But we want to do discount band for each country. So I'm going to click on this clustered bar. So we are seeing that for United States of America, This is called a legend. So where you have the high, low, medium, and none. So we have the the bar chart for each of the categories. So you're having two or three segments in a place, two or three categories in a place. It's the same with this clustered column chart. If I want it to be the axis to be the other way around, I can have this. Then this 100% stacked bar chart, instead of having everything in different columns, right? It's going to be something like this. So, but this one is going to fill it in. Let me click on it so you get to see. This is what it looks like for each United States of for each country. You get to see the distribution of the discount band within each country. Each color, the percentage of each color is representing how much sales that are of high discount band, how much sales that are of medium discount band. You can see that this orange color is representing discount band. Then when you do the 100% stacks, it just changes the axis. Everything is in a full everything is in a full bar, but inside that full bar, it now divides it into percentage. That is what happens with the clustered bar chart down to the stacked bar chart. Now, when you're talking about the line chart, you're talking about, I said it in the beginning of the class that if you're dealing with a line chart, you're trying to do more like a time series. You're trying to plot movement of data points with time, with respect to time. So I'm just going to shift this aside and I'll click on this. I have the year here, so I just have 2 years. So I will use the month. So the month name and the sales. So I get to see sales by month. October, November, December, September, June, July. See ordered. June, July, February. It's not ordered. So let me use here. There is a date column here. Let me go through this date column route. Now you see the time plot of this. Because this month here, it's not a date format, right? So it's not ordered according to date. So I had to go to the one that is a date format. So it will arrange everything for me. So this data, it's moving from September 2013. Let me focus it so we get to see. It's moving from September 2013 to November 2014. So we can see the trend per year and where we have the highest sales. So you can click on analyze. So Power BI will try and explain the increase for you for each uh, data point. Still loading. That's when you're talking about the line charts. You see, gives you the summary of the chart. And value accounted for the majority of increase among products, offsetting and decrease. The relative contribution made by changed the most. So it has like given you the summary of what is happening here. You can see that we did not even include the product names, or it's telling you what is happening in the product names, and it's also explaining according to the discount band, according to country, and so on. So let's go back to the report. That's it about the line chart. Then the area chart is more of the line chart, but it's like a distribution. It's like shades everything. So instead of having it in a line, each line, if I have two line charts here, for profit work, let me see. Okay, yeah. So now I have for each year, for each month, I'm seeing the sum of sales. And for each sales, this blue one down here is the sum of profits. If I change it to a line chart, it will give you a line as well, but it won't be shaded. So what the area chart does is that it shades it below. Same with the stacked area charts. It finds a way of like bringing the two charts, the two lines you have together. So what it did is the one for sum of profits, it brought it and kept it on top of the one for sum of sales. This is a combo chart for this one that I'm hovering. Let me remove this one. So when you talk about a combo chart, it's more like you're having a line chart and a bar chart together. Most of the cases where you use that is if you're comparing across two different categories, right? Let's say, let me come back to this chart that I have here and um, I'll remove this count band and put it on combo chart. Now I'm checking United States. I'm checking the countries, right? Now I want to see the profit for each country against the sum of sales for each of these countries. I'll take the sum of profits. Where's profit? Oh, as I know this profit. You see, by default, Power BI took it to column of the y-axis. So I'll just drag this sum of profits to line y-axis. So we are seeing what's happening here. United States of America has the highest sum of sales, but it doesn't have the highest profits. So you're seeing how you're comparing it now. So the sum of profits for United States of America is 2.9 million, but the sum of sales is 25 million. Now, what's happening in France? France has the highest profit. France has a profit of 3.7 million with um sum of sales of, this is 24 million. What did I see? United States is 25 million, but France has more profit. So with this type of combo chart, you're trying to explain, you're trying to compare the profits you have for each of these category, the category being the country. You're comparing the profit you have with the sum of sales you have. It won't always come in this format, but this is just like the basic explanation of where you can use this combo chart. I've had a scenario where I used it in a kind of chart that is talking about the completion rate for a course, right? So I did the completion rate, the number of people that completed the course for each of the courses. Let's say we have people in a class that they are offering physics, or let's say it's an online class, right? Let's say people that completed, let's say this class we had now is an online class that people is learn as you go. You don't have to come to class, you just log in, more like Udemy and Udacity. So amount of people that register for a course and total number of people that actually completed the course. So if you are checking the number of people that registered for each course, let's say for the data science course, the data analytics course, the data engineer course. So if you're checking that number of people, you can plot a line plot. You make it like a combo chart, and you have a line plot on the completion rate for each of that category. That's another example of where you can use this kind of chart. Then we talk about this line and clustered column chart, which is same scenario. Talk about the ribbon chart. The ribbon chart works like the line chart too. It's not mostly used because it always looks messy. Let me show you an example. Well, it's obviously we always have a place where you can use it. You can use sales and profits as usual for a year. Now you can imagine this chart I have, and I have it in ribbon format. This is the way it looks. So it makes it in such a way that most times you don't get to see your data points. You that plotted it might be able to be seeing it, but the stakeholders, it's a lot of information for them to process. And we talk about the pie chart. I'll give you an example of how you use the pie chart. There's a column here I can see. This one that has okay, yeah. Let's use the okay, can work. Let's use the sales for years since they are just 2 years. So I can just make this. So you see that there are more sales for this is sum of sales. It shouldn't be year. For me to use this, I'll have to make this year. I'll make the year category. It's in sum. So I have to make it a text format. So that has worked. I'll come back here. So I'll put it in legend. So now that works. So we are seeing the year 2014 and the year 2013. The light sky blue is for 2014 and the deep blue is for 2014. Same with the pie charts. Told you both of them, they're basically same thing, just choice. Then this is a scatter plot. You use a scatter plot when you are comparing two continuous variables. When we're talking about continuous variables, we're talking about data points, numbers, right? You can't use a scatter plot to compare a category with a number. Both of them has to be numbers for you to use the scatter plot to compare them. You use scatter plot to find the relationship to try and see if two data points are related. Now I can try to do the same profit and sales. Plot for profit and sales for what should I use? Okay. X-axis, Y-axis. Okay, so I'm looking for what I should use as the values to compare them. Okay, let me use profit. So we are seeing the relationship between the sum of sales and the sum of profit. I can also put for sales there too. It's the same thing, anyone you put. So we are trying to compare these two data. You can decide to increase if you want to use legend as country. It would split these data points, so you get to see different colors. You see that Germany has high sales, two high sales, two high profits here, and you see that mostly which color is pink here. United States has more representatives down here. They have both low sum of profits and low sum of sales here. So that's it for the scatter plots and the card visuals. I think we don't have to say everything. Just say the important ones. So we get to plot a dashboard. So the card visual is for your KPIs. When you want most of the dashboard you see, let me put up a sample. Most of the dashboard you see that you see a lot of uh these things up here, these are card visuals. So you use it to put a summary of your data points. Only like we want to do sum of sales, we can do sales and click on the card visual. So we see that the total sum of sales is 118.7 million, which of course we can change the display of this. We are still getting there. Then this is multi-row card. If you want to have a lot, this is now a multi-row card, right? I can decide to drag sum of profit too there. Where is that profit? I'm always looking for it. So it has given me sum of sales. This is sum of profit. The more I drag, the more it's getting up. But there's a new card visual that is more aesthetic than this card new, right? So you see that this one has more aesthetics than the other one. It's a newly released card visual on in Power BI that you can even get to combine it with charts. Then you talk about your slicers. I know I talked about slicer in one of the classes. That you can use categories as your slicers. You can also use your dates as your slicer. It gives you a way for you to filter in your data. Like I can select country and I use it as slicer. So if I select for Canada now, everything here will change for sum of sales. This is sum of sales and sum of profit for Canada. If I select France, I get to see the one for France and so on. Then we talk about the tables and the matrices. Tables gives you display like the normal table that you have. Maybe shouldn't remove that, just leave it. Let's say we want to have a table that displays some certain data of interest. Let me select a table and I want to display the year, the country, and the sum of sales. So you see the way the data points is being displayed. I also select discount. No, sum of discount band, exactly. So this is showing only France because I filtered only France from the slicer. So when I remove only France, everything gets to display. So I get to see year is 2013, this is country, and the discount band. Let me remove discount band first. So this is what I have for each country. I have the year, the country, and the sum of sales. This is your normal table. It's flat, like you know. But when you are using a matrix, it's more like comparing the data set in rows across columns, like the normal matrices you have. It's more like you have a particular data points in your columns and you have some in your rows. So what it basically does is intersection. So for 2013 and for Canada in 2013 was our profit. For France in 2013 was our profit. So it has a way of displaying your data across both rows and columns. And you have total in both rows and columns. Unlike when you have a table. When you have a table, everything is in a long format. It's not giving you a two-way format. So you see the difference between your matrices and your table. You can also, there is a kind of chart that we call the heat map. Matrices is a kind of way for you to utilize the heat map in Power BI. I think that being said, this we have 15 minutes. Let's try and do a demo chart of, let's work with something like this. So I want to replicate this dashboard, right? Sorry. I want to replicate this dashboard. We may not get everything to look like this, but we want to get something like this. So I wouldn't want to take everything down. So I will just create a new page. I see that we have a chart distribution with primary type, this one with secondary type, both types and ratio. Okay. So I'm just going to click here and I've selected the stacked bar chart. The primary type is type 1. So I'm just going to select the type 1 and I'll click on the Pokemon names, either names or I'll click on the where's the image URL? It is the same thing. Okay. Let me use the names. So we put it in legend. So I'm going to bring it up to x-axis. So I have something like this. I've gotten the one for primary type. So I'll do the same thing for secondary type. I'll create this. I'll put the type 2. The type 2 is the secondary type. And I'll select names again. It has put it on legend again. I'll bring it to x-axis. So this is the one with the secondary type. And before I proceed, you notice that the page size I'm working with, did I change it? This is 60%. Okay. I'm not sure I didn't change it then. If you want to change the size of your dashboard, you can, without selecting any charts, like there's no chart selected, you can come to this canvas setting and you select this is for canvas background, and you select canvas setting. So this is the default setting you have here in Power BI. You can decide to change it to custom, where you change the height to any amount, any size you want. So I'll just leave it in this default size, so it won't spoil what I have in the other pages. So I've done the one for secondary type. Okay. Primary type, secondary type, both types, and the ratio of those with a secondary type. Okay. So both types, I left it in combined type. So I'll just select the combined type, come back here, and select names. This keeps entering legend. So as I told you, you can always change where it's supposed to be. So type 2 rates, those are the this is the percentage of Pokemons with a secondary type. So I'm going to the data format. So you get to see what are the data table. So you get to see what I have there. This type 2 rate. So basically what I did is I wrote a conditional format. Does he have, if the type 2 is none, then say no. If the type 2 is non-none, to give me a yes. So basically what it does, the type 2 rate does for me is when I use it to plot the chart, it's going to plot the distribution of yes against a no. So yes means it has a secondary type. No means it doesn't have a secondary type. So select type 2 rates and I'll put the values are the names. The legend is the name. So now I have this. So I have my KPI of number of Pokemons. So I'm going to select this and I'll select. Now I'm not going to use names because the names I have here, that's okay. Let's use name first. If it doesn't work, then I will say what I want to say. So this is giving me my first name. So I'll come here and do count distinct. Okay, that works. They have distinct names. So I have 1194, but I don't want to be displaying in K. I want the full values. So I'll come to format visuals, and I'll come to the callouts, the values, display unit, none. So I don't have case, I don't have M for million, and I have this here. The other KPI I have is types. This is a slicer, this is a slicer. Primary type, secondary type. So I'll come back here. I need one more of this. So I put it on type, select the card again, and I'll do count distinct. So I have 18 types. So the slicer I have is for types, right? So I'll just come to select slicer. This is your slicer. I'll put type 1 there. This is the first slicer. Select type 2, and I'll put it in slicer 2. So this is the second one. The last thing I have on that page is the table, right? This is a table that has the image, the name, and the type. So I'm going to click on table, and I'll select the image, the name, and the type. I think it's a combined type I left there. Yeah, it's the combined type. So this is not just type. This is not just type. This is the combined type. So now I have what I need. It's for me to arrange it. I want to leave this in the top 5 or top 6. I believe that's what I did here. So you don't want to your dashboard to be clustered, right? You can decide to leave everything, then so that it can be scrollable. But I like leaving top 5, top 6. That's what matters. That's what I feel like the information should go. Then I have something like this. We'll get to that part when you this is called a tooltip, right? By default, Power BI has a tooltip for you, but if you want to use a custom tooltip, you can design it. This is what a tooltip is. When you are hovering in a particular column, it gets to tell you the details there. Now, this one is showing me that this is type 2, and the count of names there is 3,252 for none in type 2. So let's start with bringing this down to top 6. So I'll go to filter, count of names. I leave it in. Now, I don't want to have none there, right? I think the only thing I had there was from flying. I removed none. So I want to remove none because it's making all other data points look like it's no. So I'll come to this one by type 2. Show value when the value is not of truth none. Uh, can I see? Let me enter numbers. Okay, it is what value. Let me do the filter from here. Advanced filtering. Okay, let me use. Okay, so I use does not contain to filter it. So show me when the value does not contain none. So it has filtered this, right? So I want to do another filter there, right? So I will add type 2 here again. Basic filtering. I'll use top N. I need the top 6. Top what? Top 6. If you want the bottom 6, you can always select the bottom 6 by using, when you put top N here and you come here, you can select bottom if you want. Top 6 by what value? So the value I want it to give me the top 6 is by count of type 2. So I'll put the data here and I'll put count of type 2. Apply. So now it has filtered this based on the information I gave it. Now, if I don't want to start working on the same thing again, I have the format I used to use. I can just click on Format Painter and click on this. Format is not carrying filter. Okay, I'll just come here and repeat what I did. The only filter I need to do here is for top 6. Again, top 6 by the count of type 1, and I apply. So I have this. I'll do the same here. I just need the top 6 here. So now I have this. Now for my slicer, I want it in that format that I have there. I can always come here, slicer setting, the style. This is a vertical style, so I'll leave it in drop down. So what I have there is drop down. I'll put it up here. This remains here. This comes down a bit. Now I'm going to format this thing. So I want to have my data values on the charts. And when I have it, I don't need the x-axis anymore. So I'll just come to data labels and turn it on. everything I'm doing is in the format visual side, right? So when I've turned on data labels, and my data labels is there, you see that this 0, 200, 400 is no longer necessary. So what I'm just going to do is I'll come to x-axis, I'll turn off values for x-axis, and I'll turn off the title. I don't need the count of names there, right? Now for the data labels that I turned on, by default, the color you have is not black, so it's not really visible. So I'll just come here. I'm still under the data labels. I've come to the values. I've changed it to black, bold it. You see, it's becoming more visible. So I've increased it. So where do you want it to be? The position. Is it inside end or outside or center? If you put it on inside end, it enters your data like this. Then if you put it on center or outside end, it stands outside like this. So let me leave it this way. And I'll change the color of the bars. By default is blue. Let me give it a kind of brown. I'm not trying to get the exact color I have there, but let's try. Let's use this brown. And if you also notice from here that the borders are visible, right? You get to see the borders. So I'm going to do the same thing I have here too. I'm going to click on this and I'll remove this type 2 that I'm seeing here. I don't really need it. So I'm going to remove the title. Yeah. So I'll come to general, I'll come to effect, background. We'll come back to working on the background first. Visual border, I'll turn on the visual border and I'll turn on shadows. Yeah, so you get to see the borders and the shadow. If you want to increase the shadow, you want to change the position of the shadow, you can see it's in the bottom right. If you want to change it to the left side, you select left. This shadow will come to this left. It depends on where you want it to be. So I'll leave it at the bottom bottom right. Anyone? Okay. And let me make everything I'm doing here, I'm doing it so that I'll apply the setting to every other chart. I'm not going to be designing every other chart the same way I designed this. So this is my y-axis, the label. So the values also is not pure black. So I'm going to change it to black or any color you want. I just want it to be more visible. There are times you design charts and it's not visible. It's because the default color on Power BI is not dark black. And the naming, right? Don't forget to change the naming of your chart. You don't always want to leave the default name Power BI left for you. So I'm going to change this to distribution of this is a secondary type. Sorry. The title I just changed. I'm going to put it on black too. I'm going to increase bold it. So now this setting I've done here, I want to duplicate it on every chart. So I just click on Format Painter. I'll click here. Everything happens here. I don't need to be designing everything again. I'll click here. I'll get it to be here. If I click here and bring it to here, this is a different chart, right? So it's not going to work like that. But what works is that my labeling works. So I want to change, I want to change the format of my legend. I don't need this thing here. Why be here if it can be in the category? So I'll come to the detail label. What do I want to be in the detail label? I want the category and the percent of total, right? So So when I change it, I'll see that yeah, this is yes, this is no. So when I have these two here, I don't need this one again. So I'll just turn off the legend. It goes, right? So what next I'm going to do is to change the color. I'll come to the slices. So yes, I'll turn it to this color that is already here. Then no, I can turn it to the lighter one of it. No. Mind you, I'm not trying to replicate the colors that we have there. But if we get it, good. So now we've gotten this. About designing the background of your dashboard. Most of my dashboard background, I designed them on PowerPoint, right? So the one I used for this, hopefully I still have the image. Um, okay, let's see. Canvas background. Okay, Pokemon1.png. So I should come to my PowerPoint. Um, PowerPoint. Where is that PowerPoint? I hope I'm not too fast. Are you guys following? Please, you can unmute and let me know.
Yes,
Mm,
ma'am, we're following.
okay. So this is where I designed the background of that dashboard you're seeing. This is obviously the cover page, and this is what I used for each of the dashboard itself. So I'm just going to come back to the dashboard. This is not this is Pokemon one, so hopefully I've not replaced it. So I told you if you want to ask anything about your canvas setting, you just make sure you're not clicking on anything. Then you come to the settings, select the canvas background. So I'm going to browse the image. Where did I keep it? Okay. Okay. Um, I don't see it. I'll just export it again. Let me try this. So the transparency is 100%. So when I bring it down, what do that's not what I should have. Let me go and export it. So this is what I need. So I'll just export it. Change file type, save as another type. It's actually here. Why am I not seeing it? It's on pictures. Abba. So I'll come back here and remove this one I have here. Browse. I'll go to pictures. Pokemon. Where is it? This is open. So the transparency is on 5%, right? Because I made it light on um uh PowerPoint. So I'm going to image fit. I'm going to put it on fit or fill. Anyone works. So now you see that it's not blending well with my charts. Why? Because I still have the background. Which chart is this? Let me remove it. Because I still have the background. So what I'm going to do is I'll come here, go to general effects, remove background. So it blends with the background I have. So I'll do the same thing here. I'll remove it here and I'll just format Painter to the um similar charts. Hopefully it works on the table. The only thing that worked on the table is the visual background. So I'm just going to come to the table. The background is off. So I'm going to turn off background for the individual columns, right? So it looks something like this. First off, I want to reduce the column of this so that it gets to display everything. Mhm. What I basically did was I was removing the background for individual cells. Background of series of, okay. Alternate background color, ash. So I just removed this type. For this one, I'm going to turn off the background as well. And come to the visual, the call out. I'll format Painter. I'll do the same here. I'm copying the format to the types. So now I'm going to reshape this to fit in into the dashboard. Should make sure that it's the same, the alignment works. So there is a hack on getting that alignment. I will show you after resizing everything. To go smaller to fit in for the table to come in. I'm going to reduce this so I see clearer what I'm working with. This one I'm going to come here. I'll remove the call out values. The values I'm not supposed to type to sorry the label. I don't need count of names. Or bring it down. I can bring it down and call it Pokemons. Reduce the size, the call out value, bold it, and reduce the size. Then the label, I'll also bold it, or I'll change the label name. You try as much as possible to make your call out values and also your slicers to make it have action, right? Instead of using count of names, you can just call it Pokemons straight. I'm going to center it. Then so I'll call this Pokemons. I'll click on enter and it changes here. The same way I can call this type. So I can call this one type. The same way I change the name for that one. I can change the name for that one. And change and this one is already okay. It's just the arrangement. So about the alignment, when you come to the general, you can check the properties and you see the height and the width. You have to make sure that the ones on the same line, if you are planning for it to have the same size, that they have the same height and the same width, and also the positioning too. Now, talking about the height and width, you see that this is 258 against 378. Now, if we come here, we are seeing 240 against 385. So I can just call this 258. So it has the same width, right? So you don't have the same height, sorry. Then for this one, for the width, I'm going to come here. This is 378 and this is 385. So I'll just make this one 385 since they're going to fit in the same line. So now they have the same size. Another thing that you have to look in is the positioning. So horizontally, this is 888 and 119. But this is 461 and 119. So they are on the same line horizontally. So since they have the same 119, you are good. But now you are these ones on the same uh, line vertically. You're seeing that this is 461. This one down here should also be 461. If not, you need to rearrange that. So this is 461 too. So that's good. That's the positioning. 461 391. So this is 461 119. So look at this one. Is it the same? This is 888419. So you check the positioning for this one. So vertically, this is 888119. This is 888412. So it's the same vertically. So this is now 888391. Why this is 888119? And this so now you see that the alignment this one is, and you bring this one closer. So what the alignment counts is the leftmost, the starting point. You have to be careful of that. So you see that now these four charts have aligned very well. Now the last thing I'll talk about here before I'll end the class, because I think we've covered the most important things, even on alignment. I hear someone talked about GIF. So if I want to insert a GIF to this chart now, Going to reduce this. Maybe I want to insert a GIF that is dancing like this cover page that I have here. I want to have a GIF like this. So I'm just going to come to, yeah, and I'll insert this new card. Before I do that, I'll come to, because if you notice on this table, on this my data set, I have two different new tables. This is the theme table. Is your assignments that you do, you figure out how to do that one. And this is a new table. So I'll do another one for the benefit of this class. So I'll just come to my Power Query, which I can access through the data transform. When I come to the Power Query, I'll click on enter data. I want a new table, right? So I'll click on enter data. I'll click OK, just like that. It's a blank table. I need a blank table. This one is already here, table 1. So let's look at this table 2. Then close and apply. That's the only thing I did. Just created a dummy table because I want to use it. Now this dummy table that I have, it has appeared here, table 2, right? So I'll just select this column 1, and add here. It's already here. It's taking me to table, so I'll leave it in the card, the new card visual. And I'll come to the setting. I'll click on image. I'll activate the image type, image, and I'll browse. Now I'll look for where I have a GIF. If it's a GIF I downloaded, it's Pokemon GIF. Yeah. This is not it. Not this one. Pokemon 12 and okay, Pikachu. Yeah, this is what I need. So now I'll reduce the padding, which other way it works. I'll come to cards. Fill 0. Because of this background, I want to remove this background. I want it to be transparent. So fill 0. I don't want any fill. And border. I don't want any border. Okay. Background is still there looking at me. Effect, no background. So you see that we still have that first data there, right? So I'm just going to remove header icon. Okay, still there. I'll go back to visual. Call out values. None. That's right. One is gone. So reference label. That's not it. Should be in header. Call out values, labels. Yeah. So it's gone. Now we have this GIF swinging at us. That's just what I did. So what you have to do now is, let me remove this one. What you should do now is find a way to add the color buttons like I did when you have something like this. Because it's not on service, if I want to be clicking on it, I'll have to hold down the control button. If I hold control and click on this, I have the dark view. If I hold control and click on it, I have the light view. Now about tooltip, yeah, I talked about it. Now look at what I have here and come to this place. The default tooltip I have here is the normal one that Power BI has. Now, let's say I want a page as a default tip. Maybe this one that I minimize to the 6. Maybe I want the full one that if they are hovering over it, they get the full view, right? So I'll just add a new page and I'll go to the page setup. Canvas setting, type. I'll put it in tooltip. It will minimize it. So I will have to plot a chart here, right? I can plot that type too. Or I can just, okay, let me plot the type 2 by name. I'll put the name in x-axis. So I can come here. Or I don't need to plot. I can come here, copy this, right click, copy this visual. Come here. And paste it. I'll just reduce the size because the reduction is too much. Just put it like this. And I'll come back and remove. Remember, I filtered it to top 6. I can clear this filter, right? Now I've cleared this filter. If I come to this page, I'll select this one. This is where I want to apply the tooltip. I'll right click. I'll go to general. Tooltip is on. So the type, I want it to be a report page. Right. Work page is in page 2. Right. So now it's active. Now if I hover over this page, it's going to give me, for flying, this is what I have. For psychic, this is what I have. But if I want it to be in a table format, that's basically what I did. I can copy this table and come to that tooltip page. Remove this one. And paste the table. What it's basically going to do for me is, if I hover on any one, it will give me the list and pictures of all the Pokemon that of that type. Just trying to arrange this. Images are small. Kilo day. Is that the right image that I use? Yeah, that's the one I should use, image 2. This is better. So now if I come to this page 1, I'm just going to come here and change the image option I used here. I will remove it and put this. So when I hover here, for flying, what it's just going to do for me is to bring out the ones that has flying. So you see that what it has brought to me is the type that are flying. But the one that are psychic, it brings out the ones that the type is psychic. If I hover in poison, it brings out the ones that is poison. That's the power of the tooltip. I think this class has gone. Oh, ah, ah, ah. So I think I've covered everything. Does anyone have any question? Let's take questions before my system will go.
A question.
Does anyone have a question?
Can you hear me?
Yesterday you don't have any question. Was I fast?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so when you did the bar charts, the 2 bar charts at the top, and you applied filter to remove the top 6.
Mm.
So when you now clicked on, you had to drag the type 2, the count of type 2.
Mm.
When you now dragged it, my question is, why didn't you use the count of names? Because that's what the visual is about in the first place. Like, why did you use count of type 2 on the filter instead of count of names? Like, to get the top 6.
To get the top 6. You can
Yeah.
also use the count of names, right? It's the same thing. So what I just wanted to do is I want to, okay, this is it, right? The top 6, I use the count of type 2. Let me remove type 2. This is for type 2. And I'll use names. I can also select the count of names. It's going to give me the same. Do you get
So
that?
yes, I do. Please, I have one more question that
No
doesn't
problem.
relate to dashboard. Okay, so if you have like a CSV file, CSV files are usually comma separated. So let's say the CSV has name, phone number, and email address. So you know that when you want to load that file, Power Query will just help you sort everything out. Your own is just to load to
Yeah.
ensure that you have the right delimiter and all. So, but in a case where there is now, like, I said name, phone number, and email address. So let's say some email addresses now have, most email addresses will end with .com or something. So let's say there are about a few email addresses in the data that has com instead of .com. You know that CSV file will split it to now turn it into like 4 columns, whereas in the original data set, it has 3 columns. So to now make it seem like it has broken that data by the comma that by the mistake in the
Yeah, I
email.
get. I get.
So like how does one, like, how do we undo something like that if
If
you ever
if I'm the one that is working on the data and I encounter something like that, I have two ways I will go about it. One, I import the data in Excel, and where Excel will give me the option of the CSV I want to use. Which, if you use Excel or you use Power BI, it will basically do the same thing. Because if you're using CSV, it's looking at the commas and it's splitting it for you. So allow it to split it first. Then when you now come to your data cleaning, you can merge it together again. You get your first column, you add a dot, then you merge it with the second one.
we
Does that
now
answer
shift
your
it
question?
into 3 columns instead of 4?
Yeah?
Will it shift it back into 3 columns, the initial 3 columns that are supposed to be in the data? Because the
When
reason why I'm asking is because if you have maybe like 100,000 records, for instance, and maybe
mm-hmm,
like 30,000 of them have that error
mm-hmm,
of error of comma com instead of .com. So that means you would have like a 4th column in the data set. So if
yeah.
you're saying that when you merge it back, is it going to remove the last column that was mistakenly
What
created?
what what is basically going to do is that, for some of it will be accurate, some will not be accurate. Now look at my approach that I'll use for that data set. That original one that has the ones that have been splitted and the columns that have the ones that have the .com and the ones that does not have it. I will split that column with I will separate a .com from that original column so that everything will be only email without a .com. You get? So when I have that, I will merge the column with a .com, like you do column from example in Power Query, so that you add a .com at the end. When you now add that, you have a new column itself. You can delete the other one you have, so that at the end you only have 3 columns. You don't have an extra one. That's the approach I will use for that kind of problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope that solves your problem.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Mm. Does anyone else have a problem? Has a question? This is the last class, so, and I'm expecting something from everybody. I'm expecting you to start working on something. I'm writing exams. I should find the data sets I will give, but in the meantime, the class, it's even a lot of sacrifice for me trying to make it to today's class.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
And can we get the data set for this practical, the one you use for this practical?
The Pokemon data set. I can
Yes.
send you the Pokemon data set.
Okay, that would be nice. Thank
The
you.
one I've not cleaned. You do everything from scratch.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? Let me stop sharing.